Hi guys, Venus Feroci here. Ooh, how are you guys doing? So I know it's been a long time coming, and I'm just gonna say this. Thank you guys for being so patient with me. God, where do we start? I mean, speaking of where we're gonna start, I'm gonna start off with 13 degrees Leo, and also talking about this full moon, and also talking about the sun also being at 13 degrees today. Hi, I'm Venus Feroci. For some of you that know me, you maybe you have found me on TikTok, Instagram, or some alternative platform. Maybe some of you have come across me or know me as a lifestyle goddess or former dominatrix, but also covering controversial topics and definitely talking about spirituality and astrology. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to like formally just say welcome, thank you for joining me, but also kind of unpack the direction of this channel and also take the time to talk about some things that are coming up. So firstly, I feel like this is probably going to be my new home channel. This is going to definitely be my home channel, and what you guys can expect is me talking about random forecasts the same way in which I share information on my Instagram or my TikTok. This is going to be the same type of information except more long form. And also, I wanted to do a little bit more, I wanted to share more personal life experiences in a more lifestyle vlog type of way. Yeah. Basically whatever I'm giving everywhere else is giving some total here. Long form, bigger, better. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into it. Let me get my little iPad. So let's start off with the full moon. February 1st actually occurred at 13 degrees Leo. And as mentioned before, 13 degrees or even the number 13 is a karmic number, because we know karma is not only what you do, but it's also in what you allow. So when it comes to karmic numbers, especially when it comes to degrees, 13, 14, 16, and 19 are karmic numbers, right? They all carry a different essence because they obviously have different lessons. So with 13 degrees, in general, it speaks to the end of karma in which you enable things, such as you enable your boundaries being violated, the ways in which you enable your mistreatment, the behaviors in which you condone that inevitably lead to your own abuse. It's the ways in which you choose your abuse as well. And another thing that tends to come up with 13 is when it comes to boundaries. So what is the issue with people when they have 13 degrees? Wherever you have that placement in your chart, that's the area in which you tend to struggle with either asserting yourself, stating your boundaries, but also it's lacking the skills to either assert yourself or advocate for yourself. It usually, whenever someone has this number 13, I know that's the area in which they're prone to enabling their own mistreatment, or they just lack the self-advocacy skills to defend themselves. And other times it can show up in a more innocent way, where in which someone may just be oblivious to a boundary that they didn't know that they needed to have. You know what I mean? Let me repeat that one more time. There's something about 13, wherever that placement is, that's the way in which you tend to be oblivious to your own mistreatment. You are oblivious to the ways in which things may come up for you that may inevitably lead to your abuse. In a way, it's kind of like having like a blind spot. Yeah, I would say if you want to let's yeah, I like that. Let's consider it that. 13 in a nutshell speaks to someone having a blind spot or lacking the insight in a particular area in which they don't realize you need to have a boundary there. You need to be able to assert yourself there. You need to have self-advocacy skills there, right? So that's one hand. And another way in which 13 tends to come up is letting the ball roll. And also later on, I'm going to kind of run through some examples around what it can look like in particular placements. So another way in which 13 may tends to come up, like in a life way, is letting the ball roll. Letting the ball roll. Let's think about the ways in which you fail to assert yourself or reach out and take something or create a boundary or create like a sign or create something to say, hey, I'm available, or say, hey, this is mine, I want this. Think about the ways in which you let your power just kind of be wasted, and the ways in which it's wasted is more so on the side where you choose to not use it. you choose to not assert your power. It kind of reminds me of, okay, here's a nice little example. Someone with 13, let's just say as a kid, you always wanted to be an actor or an actress. And then in adulthood, you always come across, various different castings, or maybe you're a teacher and for some reason, you always get those random emails in your inbox about maybe you should come in, probably audition, or you kind of just sweep like your dreams under the rug. Or maybe some random opportunity comes up where someone's like, oh my God, I need someone to fill in this spot, and because you're shy, maybe because you're shy, you basically you don't reach out for it. It's being constantly also presented with opportunities to assert your power, and for some reason failing to. That is the problem with this number here, right? So now let's run through some examples. Like, let's say, for example, if you have 13 at, let's say, your sun, your moon, or your rising, I know that you are prone to enabling your own mistreatment, right? Because we know the sun and the rising and the moon, that rules over like the moon and your emotions and how you impact others and show up with others and engage with others. And also your environment, but also with your sun and your rising, it speaks to your self-expression, your identity, your personality, who you are in essence. And there's something about, if you have 13 in those placements, it lets me know that you are prone to enabling the belittling or the diminishing of your personality. If I see 13 at someone's sun or their rising, I know that they're prone to just straight up letting people either bully them, or they're prone to letting people minimize them, or they just lack the ability to assert themselves. They tend to lack self-leadership in a way. They may also kind of find themselves in circumstances where people are downplaying them, minimizing them, or they're acquiescing. That's another word I forgot to use, and I should have brought this up sooner. 13 really speaks to the ways in which you acquiesce as well, right? Because we think of acquiesce and it's almost like kind of surrendering to something, just like, going along with it. But that's also problematic, especially if it's going to lead to a boundary violation. But also think about the ways in which you really don't want to do something. So I feel like 13 in essence kind of reminds me of people pleasing in a way, right? Because I feel like that's a very common way in which people tend to enable their own mistreatment, whether it's on a grand scale or a small scale, but it's in some way, shape, or form. Finding yourself in a situation where you're acquiescing to the bullshit, that's a problem. You're acquiescing, and it's also in another spectrum. Let's say 13 is at your fortune or your midheaven. If it's in the midheaven, it lets me know when it comes to the destiny and the calling, you're either prone to letting the ball drop or roll, right? Or it's like you're putting yourself in situations that is abusing your power in a sense. And when I say abusing your power, let's think about the power and the gifts and your abilities that allow you to function when it comes to your occupation and your job, right? When we think about your energy, the energy that goes into your job and how you excel in life in that area, in your occupation, if you have 13 there, if you're not learning the lesson well, what it looks like is you're in a dead end job and you're not scaling up. You're just literally coasting through life. You're just going through the motions of life. You're existing through life, right? So it's in that situation, you're enabling your own mistreatment or abuse of your power by just letting it roll through the dead end job. It's failing to make a claim in the grand scheme of things. You mean all this power, all this abundance, and for some reason you don't want more. You haven't chosen to want something outside of the damn box that you have chosen to clock in and out of every day, right? Let's think about that. And then people in those scenarios, they'll find themselves, going through this process, enabling, just wasting of their energy, letting the ball roll, and then just feel like they want to take the elevator to the top floor. I completely understand. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? And I think that, on one hand, I understand the feeling around having this energy. With 13, it's like you feel like there's this blockage. It feels like there's this blockage, like there's always this point of contention or resistance or this fear that if you assert your power, you might be too much. You're afraid of creating the boundary that might destroy the relationship or rupture the dynamic, or I don't know, keep you from operating at the level that you are right now. And if you want to get into it, you don't even like where the fuck you're at in the dynamic. So as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't really care. But here we are. So with that being said, I feel like with 13, wherever you see that area, that energy, it really exists as a reminder of the ways in which you need to operate different. You need to make a claim. You need to assert yourself, right? So just like how we mentioned, with 13 being in the midheaven and it speaking to the ways in which you may enable your mistreatment. Also, never forget, even in the scope of the job, think about if you're a person that in your career, you find yourself always being prone to being abused or taken advantage of. And when I say that, I mean in the sense where people just try you like you're a dummy. I don't know how else to explain it. Like people legitimately trying you like you're a dummy. And let's just say maybe they're not trying you with intentions to make you feel like a dummy, but there's something about the engagement and the interaction that leaves you feeling like, why do I feel like stupid? Why do I feel like I'm a dummy? They feel like I'm a dummy? No. These people might just be doing random shit that they don't realize there's a boundary there. And because your energy can't precede itself to say, hey, motherfucker, I need you to take your time and slow your roll and exercise caution because I'm not a type of person. If you fuck around, I'm going to be sure for you to find out. So because your energy doesn't give that, they're just lip-de-doo. And now they're in your bubble, just disrupting shit. And now you're angry and you're feeling like, and you're projecting now. Now you're projecting because we got the ditzy person. Now they're in your orbit. And they don't know what's going on, but because you ain't got the big enough balls to kind of say, hey, I see you tooting and screwing, and I need you to toot your ass up over there because it's disrupting things, because you don't have the balls big enough to do that. So what ultimately ends up happening is you enable it. Do you see that right there? The enablement, the lack thereof around the assertion, the failure to say, I need you to fuck around and spin the other way out this orbit because it's disrupting the one I have right here. That entire thing, that is 13 in essence. That is the karma. That's the lesson. That's the lesson. When people say, what is the reason? What is the lesson? That's the lesson. And speaking of that, let's kind of unpack that a little bit more. Sidebar, for anyone that wants to know specifically what 13 degrees in a specific zodiac is, you can obviously use Google. Another option is you can definitely check out my digital library. I literally translate all these degrees, but I also kind of give you like affirmations associated with it, action, key themes, kind of like stuff to like, unpack, because I know like, degree theory is something that I feel like it's not commonly spoken about, which is kind of what led me down the rabbit hole, which then inevitably led to me building out an entire library after doing extensive research. Sidebar, I am a published research author. So, something that started off as a little bit of a hobby for me then turned into something that became real life research. So me creating the library was just my way of just, passing on the information. I know it can be very resourceful, but also it's going through the process of trying to collect the data and try to find information. And mind you, this was before ChatGPT or AI even existed. So with that being said, I just, I did it the very manual, the very old fashioned, very traditional way. And yeah, so I gave it to you guys. So you don't have to go through what I went through, because initially, I know degrees, there's a reason why it's not really spoken of. There's a reason. But I stumbled upon it, and I already had some, experience with numerology and astrology and spirituality and tarot. So I kind of felt like moving into that category in that niche area wasn't too far off. It just kind of gave me, a bigger palette and more to work with. But I do understand the issues that come up with, anyone that is seeking information and can't understand what the fuck is up. You can check out my library. It'll give you there, but also you can use Google. I do work with Sabian symbols, but there's different philosophers associated with different symbols, which I'll probably talk about in a separate YouTube. But back to 13 degrees, I might eventually take some time to talk about each degree in theory, but I want to talk about examples of 13 here. So yeah, let's get into it, because whenever I meet with clients and I'm trying to explain to them how you should align with a degree and how they need to position themselves, or I typically find like a celebrity or someone that's well known, to that has a similar placement and show them, hey, this person is the blueprint of how you need to operate, which is so interesting because I truly do believe that people that are famous and like well known or very successful are often a result of really aligning exactly how they are by any means necessary in whatever fashion. So one person that I feel like have mastered the energy of 13 degrees, but also is the perfect blueprint and the symbol of what it looks like when someone really masters the art of it, right? But also it lets me know I can see why that person ended up where they are because based on their life story, look at what they've gone through. So they probably really needed to really master that anyway. So 50 Cent has 13 degrees Cancer at his sun. That is specifically one of my more favorite 13 degree placements. As we know, the sun is today's February 2nd. The sun is at 13 degrees Aquarius, and the full moon we had last night was in 13 degrees Leo. Aquarius and Leo are sister signs. So we're really in this 13-degree lesson for everyone, like this collective lesson that's really showing us, hey, it's really all about creating an energy that says you're making a claim, right? You're past asserting yourself. You're now at the point where you're ready to start taking shit, right? I feel like 13 degrees really speaks to, we're tired of the illusion, we're tired of the BS, we're tired of being tried, we're tired of feeling like a dummy, we're tired of feeling like, why am I trying to be chill, but they keep finding their way over here to disturb said chill? It's that part right there. So back to 50 Cent. 50 Cent has 13 degrees Cancer, and 13 degrees Cancer translates to making a claim. It is specifically and exactly the word that rules over the essence of being indomitable, right? With 13 degrees Cancer, it is obviously Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's a water sign. Cancer placements tend to rule over money, and that's specifically when it comes to degree, but obviously we know that money loves water, so there's a lot of things going on there where I feel like 13 degrees Cancer can inevitably lead to lots of money, ruling over money, or just having good finances as a result of mastering the art of asserting yourself. So I feel like with Cancer degrees and with Cancer placements in like 13, it really speaks to your currency in a way being tied to your dominance and your self-assertion. It's almost no different if someone was to have their fortune at 13 degrees. There's karmic lessons around your money in which you need to learn to stop letting them try you. It is, people shorting you and you're okay with this letting them short you. It is people are supposed to be giving you back your change, and for some reason you don't have the balls. Like you're too shy. You're too shy when it comes to your money. You're too calm and too chill. You're very nonchalant, and that is a problem. That's what, you know what I mean? So back to 50 Cent. That whole Diddy documentary, but also I feel like 50 Cent has a history of really showing you what it means to FA and FO, right? And beyond that, we look at his his entire making and his history and his story and how he's, had his entire evolution from starting as a rapper, but also a hustler, getting shot like 9 times and then becoming like a big rapper, and then moving into film and movie making. And now he's doing documentaries. Like this is a person that really has mastered the art of seeing some shit that they want and going after it. 50 Cent embodies the energy of reaching out and making a claim. He won it, he got it. You know what I mean? And even like the music that he speaks of, it's, if anyone has ever listened to his album, G Unit or Get Rich or Die Trying, chef's fucking kiss, right? You just got to go watch that. In fact, that is homework. For anyone that got 13-degree placement, go listen to 50 Cent, G Unit, Get Rich or Die Trying, because there's something about that. There's something about that. What's that 50 Cent song? Trying to take my life away. Many men. Many, 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 many men wish death on P. Yeah, all I know is living a life where it's like you're having that burning sensation to truly carry this energy that would just deter people from, finding their way to you and trying you. And there's so many ways this can come up, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things, what we're going to eventually notice is on a collective level, people are going to be less tolerant of abuse, less tolerant of their mistreatment. I feel like 50 Cent is a great example of that. But also, I feel like the era that we were entering in, even prior to that, with the whole Kendrick Lamar and Drake situation, there seems to be this trend leading up to people are just getting tired of the entire BS and the trying situation. Not to mention, now with the sun being at also 13 degrees, I feel like, Aquarius is very divergent by design. So I wouldn't be surprised. I actually do want to unpack that a bit too, because 13 degrees Aquarius. So by the way, 13 carries an essence, but the personality or the suit of that karmic number or the 13 number is really ruled by the zodiac it's in. So let me give you an example of that. I don't want to miss that. And then we have Aquarius, Aquarius, Aquarius. Ooh, okay, so 13 degrees Aquarius. Oh, a barometer. Ooh, setting the tone. So the symbolism for 13 degrees Aquarius is a barometer. It says we are not all equal. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me zoom in because the eyes was reading a different thing. Hold on. All right, 13 degrees Aquarius, a barometer, planning for the future. Ooh, so the word associated with this is indication. Yeah, it's indication. As much as it is foolish to set out on a dangerous journey without provisions, so too is it foolhardy to ignore available facts. It is because we need to gain control that we seek indications about the future. Planning for the future. Move your wings so I can see. The lidless granite. It is empty. And the antidote to this is found in Aries 27. By the way, you guys are going to, this is how I technically translate degrees. So, by the way, I'm just looking at my Excel sheet of all my data. So I tend to just go there and go through the symbolisms that are associated with it. So, yeah, let's kind of get to this. So the energy that's in the air today is all about planning for the future. I kind of like that energy in itself because it is a Monday. Aquarius is all about independence. This degree is all specifically in Aquarius is all about indication. So it's speaking to our relationship with indicators. So let's go back to that statement and the quote that comes up that I have here for that kind of captures the essence and the lessons. It is, again, as much as it is foolish to set out on a dangerous journey without provisions, as much as it is a problem or a big concern or very risky to kind of set out on a journey with like no savings, no money, no certainty, no blueprint, just kind of like raw dogging it, like being a pioneer. As much as it's risky to do that, right? It says, so too is it foolhardy to ignore the available facts. And what those available facts are is sometimes staying where you are is not enough, right? But also it's where there's infinite possibilities. It's so much things that can happen. So sometimes people can be afraid of the unknown, which can keep them from reaching out. But I feel like it's sometimes people get caught in this cycle of perpetually choosing the constant because that's the only thing that's predictable, right? It is people being afraid to pioneer the journey, branch out, reach out for something, make a claim simply because they're choosing to ignore the available facts. Because technically the fact of the matter is there's much more shit outside than there is available here than what's available to you in close proximity. Literally. Anything from going out there to begging to going out there to stealing, because we really got free will if you want to put that in perspective, or just going out knocking from door to door, trying to get a job. Like literally, the fact of the matter is, with 13 is all about making a claim, asserting yourself, right? With 13 degrees Aquarius is about using the mind. It's understanding that there are indicators. You have to make a claim for you. You have to look for the indicators that can point to another breadcrumb that can say, hey, I can make it. I can have success. It's okay to take the journey, even if I don't have any provisions. It is trusting the process. That's what this is about. And in the process, it's all about planning for the future. So being able to plan for the future despite having the provisions, despite the fear, despite the unknown. So for anyone that has this placement, 13 degrees Aquarius, What is life like for you? Do you struggle with, do you let the ball roll because lack of facts? Are you ignoring the facts? Do you prefer to choose the predictability? What are the ways in which you're maybe ignoring the facts of people mistreating you or taking advantage of you? Are you ignoring the facts of the way in which you're enabling your own mistreatment or your abuse? Are you ignoring the facts around the ways in which you may be failing to create a boundary? Are you ignoring the facts around the way in which you may be people pleasing? Are you ignoring the facts of needing to plan for the future because the present that you're in right now doesn't serve you? Mind you, we just came from out of that full moon. The full moons are all about releasing. So it makes me now think, that whole full spectrum, 13 Leo, and also having to, release. And then now the next day we're at 13 Sun is all about planning for the future. Just something about releasing. Whatever you released last night, I truly believe that is meant to prepare you to plan for the future starting from today. That's what this is about. That's what I truly believe. Yeah, and lastly, let me just run up to 13 degrees Leo. And OC Captain. Make hindsight 2020. Yeah, so the full moon in Leo was very reflective. What were we thinking about? What were we thinking about that maybe we need to release? Also, it should have been very peaceful. So the statement that's associated with this is the lessons and messages of life are complex and we gain much from reflection and assimilation. Interesting, because I was speaking to a Leo rising yesterday that were talking about why it's so important to assimilate. Interesting. By contemplating the past, we add value to the future. Okay, so if the sun is about planning for the future today, and last night's full moon was about contemplation, about the past for the sake of adding value to the future. Okay, so whatever you released last night, it's one of those things where you release the things that no longer serve you and think about the things that you want to preserve that can very well add value to the future, because today the energy is all about planning for said future. Ooh, all I know is that the universe is really gearing up. And mind you, both of these 13 degrees, the antidote is found in Aries. Did you guys know that degrees have antidotes, like an actual code to fulfillment, like the answer of how you need to be in order to fulfill this energy? Wow. And mind you, the answer to this is actually found in Aries 12. And 12 degrees is a degree of defiance, but more on a straight up assertive mentality. It's all about casting off the slave mentality, if you will. It's all about kind of just being a bitch, if you will. It's very spicy. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? I love this energy. What's been coming up for you? Does anyone have any 13 degrees placements? There is so much to unpack here. I love this. I love this for us. So yeah, want to know, comment below what's coming up for you. Do you have any 13 degrees placements? Where it is? Also, if anyone wants to know more specifically about this, feel free to check out my astropod. And lastly, yeah, what karmic lessons are coming up for you? Did anyone have any breakthroughs? Not to mention the fact that both 13 degree Leo and 13 degree Aquarius antidotes were found in Aries, and there's a lot of Aries energy coming up for us as well. Keep in mind, Neptune just moved into Aries, and then Saturn is about to be in Aries 2 weeks from now, and then it's about to be Aries season shortly thereafter. And it's also a fire horse year, and Jupiter's going to be entering in Leo. And then 13 degrees is an Aries degree. Do you see where I'm going with this? There's a lot of fire going on here. I love this. And that's also the reason why Alondra is blowing up. And this is going to be a year that Alondra blows up even more than she did from the previous year because of that Aries aspect. And she has 29 degrees Aries, which is technically the goddess degree. It's all about using beauty as a tool of veneration. So for anyone that has that placement, think Alondra. I'm trying to teach you guys something. I just need you to be. That's how it works, okay? So yeah, thanks for coming.